The first objective of this chapter is to describe theories of identity and how identities are performed. The second objective is to understand the features of in-groups and out-groups. The third objective is to explain connections between identity and appearance-based identity displays. The fourth objective is to compare natural features and adornments or artifacts. And finally, the fifth objective is to identify distinguishing characteristics of physical appearance features.
Nonverbal characteristics assist in forming impressions of people encountered every day. They also influence our own perception of ourselves. In terms of identity and self-concept, words describe the relatively unchanging or set of perceptions, ideas, held by us about ourselves. Self-esteem refers to the feelings about one's own identity. For example, a person's positive view of self gives him or her a sense of high self-esteem.
As a hypothesis about behavior, personality theory focuses on an individual's behavior in certain ways or thinking about the self. People tend to use nonverbal behaviors to quote-unquote perform their desired roles. In doing so, they perform their identities. Other perspectives of identity include reaction to people's evaluation of the role played by an individual as a result of multiple external influences. Social identity theory considers the influence of internal and external factors. This theory suggests that one's identity involves various group memberships. For example, Michelle relates the way she looks and the things she feels or thinks to the groups in which she is a member. Let us consider more closely the importance of groups in individual identity. Group membership gives a sense of social inclusion and a perception that we have known or similar people in our group. This makes our self-esteem tie to our successful group memberships. Discovering own social standing within groups includes carving out a unique skill set of responsibilities by learning more about oneself as one interacts with other group members. Being in a group helps an individual successfully navigate a dangerous world, therefore surviving and thriving in that way. The emergence of nonverbal communication likely started with the primitive man, who learned to communicate within his own culture, that is, intracultural communication, and with other cultures, that is, intercultural communication. What is the impact of perception of cues? Nonverbal cues can be used to stereotype and categorize people. These cues can also serve as a way of expressing oneself for the purpose of others to draw one's own conclusions. Identity badges include the full range of nonverbal cues that trigger an observer to decide whether someone is more similar or dissimilar to the self. For example, the group to which Kirk belongs is often identified by people by observing his African-inspired identity badges.
Nonverbal characteristics indicate social status, like hierarchical structures in the workplace such as superior, peer colleague, or subordinate. To indicate in-group out-group membership, nonverbal behaviors can indicate whether a person needs to be considered known or unknown, regardless of his or her past interaction and association. For example, William achieved personal satisfaction when he received his official lacrosse uniform and warm-up sweatpants with no logos or words on them and characteristic stripe down one leg, and because of these cues, he was known to be a part of a certain social group on campus. Actively working to display oneself as more similar to desirable others is one way to manage relationships. Thus, people use markers of identity to determine whether they belong to a group or not by constantly evaluating one another using obvious cues, such as apparel of a specific sports team, and more subtle cues, such as skin tone or eye shape. The nonverbal code of physical appearance deals with faces, bodies, clothing, and artifacts. Biologically based features are natural features such as our faces and bodies. Features selected from one's environment are easily changeable adornments and artifacts that make up the way we look. Natural features are nonverbal characteristics of physical appearance that are relatively difficult to change. For example, while Lisa has a Nigerian ancestry with dark natural hair and tight helix curls, her lab partner Rick, who is biracial, has freckles on his cheeks from his Scottish heritage and almond-shaped eyes inherited from his mother. While there may be no attempts to send messages with natural features, messages are received based on these features. Here are the terms related to body shapes. Somatotype refers to one's body shape. Body shape can have a negative impact on self-esteem when seeing people with quote-unquote perfect bodies on television or in magazines and comparing their own shape to the one we have. Endomorphs refer to individuals whose body is characterized by more fatty tissue and a shorter height, resulting in a rounder, plumper, or curvier shape. Mesomorphs refer to individuals whose body is characterized by more muscle and a medium height, resulting in an athletic-looking V-shaped torso.
Ectomorphs are individuals whose body is characterized by little muscle or fat and a tall height, resulting in a longer, leaner build. Body image dysphoria refers to obsessively believing oneself to have more body fat than one actually does and working to correct this perceived imbalance. Muscle dysmorphia refers to obsessively believing one has less muscle mass than one actually does and working to correct this perceived imbalance. Bilateral symmetry is the degree of similarity between the left and right sides of the face. Sexual dimorphism refers to a man's face appearing more masculine and a woman's face appearing more feminine. Taken together, increasing facial attractiveness means one's overall facial attractiveness can be increased by exhibiting pleasantness and displaying happy and positive emotional expressions. Features of physiognomy allow us to distinguish people easily, which include the shape of the face, shape and color of eyes, size of mouth and fullness of lips, dimples, freckles, and so on. They are often influenced by genetic characteristics like general racial heritage and specific features of each person's parentage. Features selected from one's environment are an important part of communicating information about ourselves to the world around us. Easily changeable adornments, such as the adornments we carry, can be swapped with another that may change the look and the perception of our interaction partners. For example, Rita swapped her summer dress with formal attire to match the stylings of her date. Artifacts are things that we keep with us throughout our daily lives. Items that we aren't necessarily wearing, but still impact people's observations and understandings of us. They send a particular nonverbal message, as people change things that they carry with them in an attempt to send a particular message to the nearby audience. Adornments send messages about the person displaying the clothing, jewelry, hats, and sunglasses. Judgments made about people depend on the style of clothing, specific logos or messaging featured on those adornments, and the appropriateness of an outfit. Relatedly, identity badges give people the opportunity to categorize, recognize, and learn more about those using the adornments. Cultural appropriation refers to the use of cultural artifacts and adornments that have historically served as an identity badge for a specific group but are now being used in jest for humor or profit. Body modifications are a variety of non-natural features such as tattoos, piercings, scarification, brandings, and certain forms of plastic surgery. Factors determining the degree of normality include culture, region, national origin, and social factors. The consensual process takes place when individuals want to enhance the look of their bodies or want to reclaim power over their bodies. In turn, people may send intentional and unintentional messages about themselves, groups they belong to, or the region of their origination, when their body modification is visible to others. Tie signs are visual representations of connections between two people and are often seen in close friendships or romantic relationships. Families may also have displays of connectedness that are easily apparent to those outside the family system, such as wearing similar outfits to an amusement park outing. However, to establish a separate identity from one's partner or family, he or she may highlight features to indicate some unique personality features to unknown others in a healthy way. For example, by his eyebrow piercing and ear gauge, Troy was known to be a little bit different than the rest of the Hansen family. Overall, we have learned from this chapter how in-group and out-group identities influence the way we present ourselves to others. Those include things that we wear or carry. They may be things from our environment, such as adornments and artifacts, as well as features that are natural or biological.